Have you ever felt anxious about the future? Caught up in worry about what hasn't happened yet and how things will turn out? Often these worries keep us from enjoying the present. What if we could learn to focus on the present? To appreciate what we have today rather than dwelling on the possibilities that may or may not happen? It would change the way we live our lives. Worry about the future often arises because we feel we have no control over it. But the Stoics taught that the only thing we control is our actions and attitudes today. Worrying about the future only drains our energy and time. Instead of letting uncertainty consume us, let's focus on what we can do now, in the moment. Because that's where our power lies. By calming the mind and focusing on the present moment, we not only live more calmly but also more wisely. Every small step we take now is the foundation for our future, and we have the power to choose the best step today. Control your mind, control your life. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the understanding that we cannot control everything that happens around us. However, we do have complete control over our thoughts, our reactions, and how we respond to each situation. Stoic philosophy teaches us not to let the outside world dictate our moods, and not to waste our energy thinking about things that are beyond our control, including the uncertain future. The power of a controlled mind. A famous teaching from Epictetus was that nothing makes us anxious except our thoughts about what has happened. In other words, we are often the source of our own anxiety. Our thoughts can be our worst enemy, creating fears about things that have not happened yet and making the situations we are facing worse. When we focus on the future, we often create worst-case scenarios in our minds. Will we fail a test? Will we lose our job? Will our relationship fall apart? These questions may never happen, but our minds project them as if they were real. In this case, Stoics teach us to recognize that our feelings and the fears we experience are simply a result of how we respond to the situation, not the reality itself. Epictetus also said, "Our desire to control something outside ourselves is the chief source of our suffering." This means that when we focus on the future, we often try to control things we cannot control, such as future outcomes. Rather than responding with anxiety, the Stoics teach us to embrace that uncertainty and focus on what we can control, our attitude, and our present efforts. Keeping your mind from being too burdened. When we are caught up in fear of the future, we often become overwhelmed with mental overload. Our minds are constantly moving forward, trying to predict what will happen, when in reality we can never know for sure what is coming. When we are caught up in a future that has not yet happened, we lose the peace and joy we can experience in the present moment. Embracing uncertainty. Uncertainty is a part of life, and it is something we cannot avoid. Instead of trying to know everything and plan every detail of the future, we must learn to accept that many things are not in our control. When we can accept this uncertainty, we will feel freer and more at peace because we are no longer fighting against things we cannot change. The key to reducing anxiety about the future is to turn our attention fully to the present. By controlling our thoughts, we control our lives. We cannot know what tomorrow will bring, but we can make sure that every step we take today is one of mindfulness, effort, and calm. Because as the Stoics taught, true happiness comes not from controlling the future, but from living mindfully in the present. Facing uncertainty with persistence. Uncertainty is an inseparable part of life. Every day we walk on ground that is not always flat and smooth. However, in Stoic philosophy, we are taught to face this uncertainty with determination, not with fear or anxiety. How can we do that? Practice mental readiness. Stoics teach us to practice mental readiness for all possibilities, both good and bad. Seneca, a famous Stoic philosopher, once said, "Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain." This statement emphasizes the importance of being prepared for challenges. Rather than focusing solely on hoping for everything to go smoothly, Stoics teach us to accept that hardship is part of the journey of life. We can choose to be mentally and emotionally prepared for whatever comes our way. For many people, uncertainty about the future causes anxiety. They fear failure, loss, or inadequacy. However, the Stoics taught that we should not fear things that may not happen. Instead, we should prepare ourselves to accept whatever comes and face it with wisdom and courage. Focus on actions, not results. One of the most important lessons of Stoicism is to focus not so much on the outcome as on the actions we take. There is no guarantee that our efforts will always produce the results we desire. What we can control, however, is our efforts and actions in the face of challenges. Stoic philosophers such as Epictetus always emphasized the importance of responding to each situation in a wise manner, without being attached to the outcome. When we focus on the quality of our actions, we give ourselves the opportunity to grow and develop, without getting caught up in worries about the future. Facing failure with a Stoic attitude. Failure is an inevitable part of life. Everyone experiences failure, whether in their career, relationships, or personal goals. However, the Stoics teach us that failure is not the end of the world. Instead, failure is part of the process of learning and growth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Whatever happens to you is an opportunity for growth." If we approach failure with the right attitude, we can learn from it and grow. Appreciate the process, not just the result. Stoics teach us to appreciate every step of our life journey, rather than just focusing on the end goal. When we focus too much on the outcome, we often miss the joy in the process itself. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Enjoy every step you take, for that is where life happens." If we only pursue the outcome, we can become distracted by dissatisfaction and anxiety about whether or not we will achieve it. Instead, when we learn to appreciate each step, we can enjoy every moment of our journey, whether it succeeds or fails. This is a key tenet of Stoic philosophy. Happiness and inner peace come not from achieving the outcome, but from recognizing the value and wisdom in each process we undertake. Uncertainty is a part of life, but resilience is the key to navigating it. By practicing mental preparedness, focusing on action, and accepting failure as part of the journey, we can live our lives with more poise and wisdom. When we learn to appreciate the process and not get caught up in anxiety about the future, we find peace in facing whatever comes our way. Facing uncertainty with acceptance. Acceptance is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. When we accept reality with an open heart, we not only lighten our mental load, but we also open ourselves up to living a more peaceful and wise life. Acceptance does not mean that we give up or give in to bad circumstances. Rather, acceptance is an acknowledgement that much of life is beyond our control, and that we have the wisdom to face that reality with equanimity. Acceptance of the uncontrollable. Much of our anxiety about the future is rooted in a desire to control everything. We want to know what will happen. We want to make sure everything goes according to plan, and we fear the unknown. Stoics teach us to accept that there are many things we cannot control, whether it's the outcome of our efforts, other people's feelings, or even a sudden change in the weather. We can only control our actions, our attitudes, and how we respond to those circumstances. This means we must shift our attention away from the things we cannot control and focus on the things we can influence: our thoughts, our choices, and how we respond to the world around us. This acceptance of uncertainty gives us the freedom to worry less about the uncertain, knowing that we can only do the best we can within the limits of our control. Learn to appreciate the current situation. One way to practice acceptance is to learn to appreciate the present, even if it is not perfect. However, the Stoics teach us that true happiness comes from accepting what is, even if it is not what we expected. We should be able to feel at peace in every situation, no matter what happens, because we know that it is all part of the journey of life. When we accept reality and see each experience as an opportunity for growth, we not only reduce anxiety, but also increase our inner peace. Self-acceptance. Often we are too hard on ourselves. We wish we could have achieved more, been more perfect, or avoided the mistakes we made. Stoics teach us to accept ourselves as we are, with all our strengths and weaknesses. We are not perfect, and that does not diminish our worth as human beings. Every failure or mistake is part of the process of learning and growing. Acceptance and courage. Acceptance does not mean that we simply give in and surrender to circumstances. Instead, Stoics teach us to accept what we cannot change, but to act with courage to change what we can control. This acceptance leads to courage. The courage to face reality and the courage to move forward even when we do not know what the future holds. Acceptance gives us peace in the face of uncertainty, while courage encourages us to act even when we don't have full control over the outcome. Changing views on the future. By embracing uncertainty and realizing that much is beyond our control, we can change the way we view the future. Instead of seeing the future as something filled with worry and fear, we can see it as an open field, full of possibilities and opportunities. We can't predict the future with certainty, but we can prepare ourselves with the right attitude, acceptance and courage to face whatever comes. Acceptance is the key to finding inner peace in a life full of uncertainty. By accepting reality, accepting ourselves, and accepting the uncertainty of the future, we can live more calmly and wisely. Stoic philosophy teaches us that while we cannot control everything, we do have the power to choose how we respond to it. Acceptance gives us the freedom to live peacefully, without being burdened by anxiety about what has not happened. In this way, we can live life more calmly, wiser, and more prepared to face whatever challenges come our way. Building emotional resilience through Stoicism. Emotional resilience is the ability to remain calm, focused, and strong despite challenges or adversity in life. Stoic philosophy teaches us that emotional resilience is not just about controlling our emotions, but rather about how we respond to our feelings and circumstances with wisdom. In a world filled with uncertainty and adversity, developing emotional resilience is an invaluable skill. The Stoics teach us how to do this with 3 key principles: self-control, seeing challenges as opportunities, and learning from experience. Self-control, the key to keeping calm. One of the key lessons of the Stoics is self-control, the ability to maintain composure and not be swept away by emotions or knee-jerk reactions to situations. Epictetus taught that we cannot control everything that happens around us, but we can always control how we respond to it. Nothing controls us except our own mind, Epictetus said. When we encounter stressful situations or negative emotions, we often feel tempted to react impulsively. Seeing challenges as opportunities to grow, emotional resilience also has to do with how we view challenges in life. Rather than seeing adversity as an obstacle or threat, the Stoics teach us to see it as an opportunity to grow and develop. In Stoic teaching, there is a concept called amor fati, which means to love your fate. This is the teaching to accept everything that comes in life, both the good and the bad, as part of our journey. Marcus Aurelius in Meditations often talks about how challenges and difficulties are a part of life that should be accepted with gratitude. Whatever happens to me is an opportunity for growth, Marcus said. When we face difficulties, we can choose to see them as tests that will test our resilience, our ability to survive, and how we can learn from them. Learning from experience, shaping ourselves through reflection. Emotional resilience is also built through reflection and learning from experience. The Stoics teach us to regularly reflect on our actions and feelings, so that we can continue to grow and improve. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius often recorded his own thoughts and experiences, reflecting on how he could have become better, wiser, and calmer. Through this kind of reflection, we can understand how we respond to certain feelings and situations, and identify areas where we need to improve. Reflection also helps us remember that we can't always control what happens, but we can always control how we perceive and respond to it. By reflecting regularly, we can more easily recognize emotional patterns that may be hindering our resilience, and we can choose to respond in healthier, more thoughtful ways. Developing resilience through daily habits. Stoicism teaches that emotional resilience is not formed overnight, but is built through daily practice. We can develop the habit of facing challenges calmly and wisely through daily practice. For example, we can start by practicing negative visualization, which is imagining the worst possible outcomes, to prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally. By training ourselves to accept that things can change without warning, we can reduce our fear and anxiety about uncertainty. In addition, we can practice gratitude every day. Even in difficult times, there is always something to be grateful for. This gratitude helps us to stay focused on the positive, even when challenges continue to arise. Emotional resilience is a critical skill for dealing with life's uncertainties and challenges. By focusing on self-control, seeing challenges as opportunities for growth, and learning from experiences, we can develop strong emotional resilience. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot always control what happens in our lives, but we can always control how we respond to it. This emotional resilience gives us the strength to remain calm and focused, no matter what is happening around us, and guides us toward a wiser, more peaceful, and more meaningful life. Appreciating the process, not just the result. In Stoic philosophy, one of the most important concepts is to enjoy the journey, rather than just focusing on the end goal. In a world that often worships results, we often forget to appreciate each step that gets us there. Stoics teach that happiness and inner peace do not come from the achievements or results we achieve, but from how we experience the process itself. As humans who are often tempted to measure success by the end result, we need to learn to appreciate every part of our life journey, accepting travel as a part of life. One of the Stoic teachings that is very relevant to this theme is, what matters is not the destination, but how we travel along the way. This reminds us that true happiness comes from our appreciation of the process, not the end result. Every step we take in life, no matter how big or small, is part of a process that we should enjoy and appreciate. Every step we take contains lessons and opportunities to improve ourselves. Act in good intentions without being overly attached to outcomes. Stoics teach us to act with good intentions and wholeheartedly, without being too attached to the outcome. When we do something with the right intention, we have already begun the journey toward greater personal growth. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, said that we cannot control the outcome of our efforts, but we can control how much effort and dedication we put into it. By focusing on good intentions and our best efforts, we can create meaningful accomplishments, even if the end result is not always what we had hoped. Stoics teach us not to feel regret for less than expected outcomes, but to feel content with the effort we have put in and the way we have gone about the process, appreciating failure as part of the process. Often failure is seen as something negative or even the end of our journey. However, in Stoicism, failure is part of the process to be appreciated and learned from. When we fail, we are given the opportunity to evaluate what we have learned, what we can improve on, and how we can improve in the future. Rather than feeling disappointed or frustrated, Stoics teach us to view failure with gratitude, as it is a necessary step towards personal growth. Even if we fail, we know that we did everything we could, and we have learned valuable lessons that will prepare us for future success. This concept reminds us that the outcome is not the only way to measure success. What matters more is how much we learned and how we grew along the way, growing through imperfection. Stoics also teach us to accept the imperfections in ourselves and our process. As humans, we are imperfect and cannot avoid making mistakes or shortcomings. However, isn't it precisely these imperfections that give color to our journey? Without failures, mistakes, and challenges, we would never learn and grow. Focus on what we can control. In our daily lives, we often feel pressured by external factors that are beyond our control. The economy, the opinions of others, or even the weather. All of these can affect how we feel. Stoic philosophy teaches us that happiness and inner peace come from focusing our energy on what we can control and letting go of worry about things outside of our control. Adopting this attitude will lead us to a more peaceful and focused life. Identifying what can be controlled. The first step to applying this principle is to realize that not everything in life is within our control. Much of what happens is outside of us, such as how other people act or how the future will unfold. What we can control, however, is our attitude, our reactions to situations, and the effort we put into achieving our goals. Stoics teach us to separate what we can control from what we cannot, and give us the freedom to focus only on the things within our sphere of influence, letting go of worries about the future. One of the most common causes of anxiety is the uncertainty of the future. We worry about what will happen, whether we will succeed or whether we will face difficulties that we cannot overcome. Stoics teach us to live fully in the present, without worrying too much about what has not happened. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Do not worry about what will happen, for we do not know what is coming." Focus only on how we are facing what is ahead. By focusing on the present, we can reduce endless worry about the future and appreciate what is in front of us. If we continue to be caught up in anxiety about outcomes that have not yet occurred, we will miss the opportunity to live life with awareness and gratitude. Remembering that we cannot control the future helps us let go of unnecessary burdens and accept each day with equanimity. Self-control and wise decisions. Self-control is one of the most important aspects of Stoicism. We cannot control what happens outside of us, but we can always control how we respond to situations and the decisions we make. In every moment, we have the choice to act with wisdom, calmness, and strong will. Stoics teach us not to let emotions or momentary impulses rule us, but to consider our decisions with rationality and long-term consideration. For example, when we feel angry or frustrated, we can choose to respond calmly and rationally, rather than exploding or acting impulsively. This gives us the strength to deal with difficult situations without getting caught up in feelings that are destructive or harmful to ourselves or others. By controlling ourselves, we can make wiser decisions that will lead to better outcomes. Appreciate the process, not just the result. Stoics also teach us to focus on the process, not just the end result. When we focus too much on the end goal and the outcome we want to achieve, we often forget to enjoy the journey itself. Realizing that we can only control the effort we put into the journey, not the end result, allows us to take each step with equanimity and appreciation for the process itself. For example, when we work hard to achieve a goal, we may not always get the results we expect. However, if we focus on the process, the effort we put in, the quality of our actions, and the lessons we learn, then we can feel satisfied and happy with what we have done, regardless of whether the end goal is achieved or not. Focusing on what we can control is a basic Stoic principle that brings freedom and inner peace. By recognizing that we cannot control everything outside ourselves, we can let go of the energy-draining worries and anxieties. Instead, we can direct our attention to our attitudes, our actions, and how we respond to each challenge that comes our way. Stoics teach us that while we cannot control outcomes, we always have control over our efforts and the decisions we make. In this way, we can live a calmer, wiser, and more peaceful life. Stoic philosophy teaches us to live with wisdom, equanimity, and a focus on what we can truly control. From reducing anxiety about the future to developing emotional resilience, the Stoics give us the tools to face life's challenges with a clear head and a calm heart. By accepting that much is beyond our control, we can let go of wasting worry and replace it with attention to what we can control, like our attitudes, actions, and responses to life. Stoics remind us that true happiness lies not in the achievement or the end result, but in how we live each step of our journey. By appreciating the process and focusing on doing the best we can find peace even when the outcome is not always what we had hoped. Every challenge, every failure, and every success is part of a larger process that allows us to grow and develop. By applying Stoic principles, we can become wiser, calmer, and better prepared to face life with all its uncertainties. Stoicism is not just a philosophy, but a way of life that guides us to live by the values we hold most important, without getting caught up in worrying about things beyond our control. It teaches us to focus on the journey, not just the destination, and to find joy in the process itself.